Thank you for joining, and apologies for the little bit of snafus that we've had so far. My name is Saurabh Gupta, and today we're going to talk about Salesforce plus AI and what are some of the real world use cases. And this is the Asia Pacific edition. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello, wherever you are. And we'll talk a little bit about Sales and Service Cloud. And what we are talking about applies equally well to Financial Services Cloud, Health Cloud, other industry clouds. So let's start with the classic, with the classic disclaimer. This is not legal advice. This is not Salesforce's point of view. We are their partner. I used to work there, love them, but this is 100% our point of view. Everything that you're looking at in this document, in this event, everything you're hearing from us is purely for informational purposes. So with that safe harbor out of the way, let's talk a little bit about our topic of the day. My name is Saurabh Gupta. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Cloud Compliance and GPT-Fi. We are a Salesforce App Exchange ISV partner. In my life prior to GPT-Fi and Cloud Compliance, I worked at Salesforce for about 7 years and change. I was in customer success there. And prior to that, I've worked in a bunch of places. I'm based in Chicago, so it's about midnight here and cold outside, but I'm glad to be on this call with everyone. All right, so let's jump into it. We're going to talk a little bit about sales and service challenges. And regardless of the industry you're in, or if you're a consultant, regardless of the industry your clients are in, these challenges are almost universal today. And you'll see a remarkable amount of similarities. We'll then dive a little bit into the customer lifecycle and where AI can play a role. And I promise that's really just a few slides I'm going to show, and then we'll just dive right into demo. This is real world use cases, so everything we're going to show you is actual working stuff. And we want to make sure that it makes a lot of sense to you. So please continue to ask a lot of questions in the LinkedIn feed. I can't see it right now while I'm presenting, but I promise to you, I am going to get to that in just a few minutes right after we're done with this. So keep those questions coming. And hopefully one of my colleagues will also highlight those questions to me in the Zoom through which we are broadcasting this. All right, so sales and service challenges, your customer lifecycle in AI, demo, a few resources and next steps, and Q&A. That's the agenda. So let's dive into sales and service challenges. Every organization today is undergoing a transformation, and these are some of the challenges. We are all trying to move away from a one-trick pony, from a transactional interaction to a personalized interaction. The competition is intense globally, digitally, with everything going on in the world. You want to make sure that you're reaching out to your customers in a meaningful and personalized way, whether you're retail, financial services, healthcare, insurance, med tech, high tech, communication, nonprofit, it really doesn't matter. Along the same lines, we are just all dying under the load of unstructured data. We are looking for actionable insights, but data just keeps on coming at us. You have unstructured data coming at you from emails. It's coming at you from chatter feeds. It's coming at you from notifications. It's coming at you from Teams, Slack, instant messaging, from meeting notes in your Salesforce, from case comments, from opportunity comments, from PDFs that are getting attached. And what we are struggling is to kind of just go through all of this and make some sense of it, get some actionable insights. The third part of this, along the same lines, is, when COVID happened, every organization just went out and bought a ton of digital, assets. They signed up for a lot of different offerings. They really wanted to move away from paper because they had no choice. So COVID kind of simmered down, but unfortunately, we are now left with a whole lot of sales operation related stuff, more sales automation, more technology, and more places to just sort data from, feed the data, and a lot of grunt work, a lot of manual repetitive work. And we are looking at how do we go from there to automating it for tomorrow, right? The fourth part of this is broken reporting. Everywhere that you look at, we are still kind of dependent on manual ways to report. You probably are looking at people who are creating, reports for pipeline reviews, who are doing, an account sort of assessment and, getting ready for their QBRs and other sort of business reviews with their accounts. They're looking at red accounts if you're in customer success or support. And everywhere, there's this challenge of visibility of customer. Nowhere is it stronger than looking at deal visibility. Similar challenges exist in the service and support and customer success space. There is a high cost and high turnover. We have a lot of challenges that we want to get over. People want to do higher value, meaningful, and interesting work. And there is a lot of automation that we can leverage to get out of some of this grunt work, soul sucking, mundane things that we do today. There are red accounts that we are dealing with. The customer experience can often be frustrating. And we're trying to figure out all of these dissatisfactions and be more proactive in our day-to-day interaction with our customers, with our clients. The other part of this is the tone-deaf communication. Maybe your organization expects you to follow a brand tone, right? When you're on a call, when you're a call center person and somebody calls in, you want to talk to them really cheerful, and that totally makes sense. But what if they've had a really bad experience? What if it's the sixth time somebody's calling about a claim to an insurance or health insurance? Knowing what sentiment a customer may have and being able to adjust to that sort of a personalization in terms of tone, in terms of bringing empathy, can make all the difference. We don't do that today. We have no way of doing that. The other part of this is, in a lot of cases, you have to continually go and explain the same thing to people for 6 times, 7 times. You're like, well, this is the problem I'm having, right? And a lot of that stuff just goes away. At some point you close the case, it goes away. How do we identify what actually happened? Were we a hit or were we a miss in terms of diagnosing the actual problem? Can we do root cause analysis? Can we do that at scale and automate it? Can those root cause analysis actually inform your engineering, actually inform your product feature and roadmap prioritization? Can you identify bugs, vulnerabilities, deficiencies, upsell opportunities? All of that stuff can happen. And that's kind of the area, the promised land that you're all trying to get to. So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about a customer life cycle. And we're talking about a merge of the sales processes and support processes, not from your point of view, but really from the end customer's point of view, the people you sell to. All right. So when you think about it, let's take a look at those processes at a very high level, and let's take a look at some of the use cases. And right after this slide or another, I'm going to start showing you a lot of demos of everything that we're talking about. And I hope that starts to make a lot more sense to see real world use cases. So it all starts with outreach, right? You go to an event, you attend an event, you have people who are doing cold calling, you have other ways. Somebody walks into your showroom if you're retail, they go to your website, they get a quote, whatever you do, right? There is an outreach that happens. You maybe create an opportunity, you have a lead, you want to send them an email, and you can use AI to get a personalized email draft. You don't want AI to just send it out because you probably want to have a human in the loop. You want to bring your own authenticity in your communication, but AI can help you generate personalized drafts at this point. You can also do white space analysis to figure out if you're trying to upsell or cross-sell into an account, what do they already own? What else can we sell them, right? So we'll do a demo of one of these use cases on email draft. From there, you move into a demo or a proposal, right? The prospect goes, okay, great. This seems interesting. I'll buy it. Show me what you got, right? And now you are in this second stage where you are giving a demo. You propose them something. You may do some sort of a workshop with them, right? Depending on whatever it is, the nature of your business is. And at this point, what is important is things like understanding what the opportunities, having a summarization for your pipeline reviews, understanding the sentiment of every conversation that is going on. And this is not an all-inclusive list, but these are things that AI can make possible at scale for you today. And I'm going to show you all of these. The third part of this is now it moves forward. You're like, all right, we're negotiating, we'll close a deal. There's more sort of redlining of contracts, more proposal, more approval, back and forth on a bunch of things. Everybody in your organization wants to be on top of this, right? Your finance people want to understand what's going on, what else is going on with this account. Your sales, of course, wants to be on top of it. Your engineering may be involved depending on how engineering centric your business is. and your customer success may want to understand what is getting promised to this customer, right? So for all of those people, it is vital for them to have a unified view of account. And that is the idea of an account 360. And when I'll show you in the demo, I'll show you what we are talking about is not like a classic single view of a customer account 360, but how many other things can AI add to what we think we know about a customer? And it is incredible how interesting that new facet of information is. The other part of this is you may have documents, you may have codes, you may have master service agreements, product literatures, a lot of things that need to be analyzed. Someone has to pour over PDFs and kind of look at everything. And I'm going to show you a little bit of how those can be analyzed with AI and how we can answer very interesting questions and really eliminate a significant amount of friction and grunt work there. Let's say, hopefully everything works out. You close the customer. This is awesome. You've onboarded them. And this is the point now there is a transition. Now you have customer success involved or support, implementation, professional services, whatever the delivery and, post-close of for this customer is, right? This is where you may get into more service cloud type scenarios. You may have cases that are open. You may want case summary. You may want to do more analysis on what the customer is trying to do. What kind of people do we want to bring in? Who do we route these problems to? And a lot of those. And we'll talk quite a bit of this in a demo that we're going to see. And again, the account or the customer 360 is still equally valid, right? You are now seeing for this account, not only opportunities, but now you're starting to see cases come in and all the other kind of things that have to be in motion for onboarding a customer. And from there, they hopefully continue on, things go well. You want to at some point make sure that the satisfaction, the CSAT, the NPS, all of those things are great for this customer, right? And if they run into issues, you want to have a root cause analysis. You want to see a sentiment journey of every interaction on a case that they have had, for example, to figure out, are we keeping them happy? Is it really the experience that is in line with the brand promise that we made? And finally, renewals, right? If we do all of this and if we do all of this well, we want to make sure that we can go back and sell more of our product or services to the customer. Whether you are software, whether you are insurance, whether you are high tech, it doesn't matter what industry you are in. Today, more than ever, every organization in the world wants to make sure that they can go back and sell more into their existing customer base. Most organizations today have a part of their target based on renewals and net news, right? So there is a huge focus on this in a lot of forward-looking customers everywhere. And this is where, again, a number of these things that we're talking about come into picture. And the idea is that with all of this, we are able to go back and continue this cycle and constantly renew, upsell, cross-sell, and bring in new business. So that's the life cycle. And on every facet of this, you can apply AI. And now I'm going to show you how to do that. But before that, one tiny little slide more. So really, when we thought through all of this in beginning of this year, just as ChatGPT debuted, we were like, how do we address this? Salesforce is a fantastic platform. There is a ton of stuff you can do, incredibly compelling. I used to work there and I love what organizations can do with Salesforce. But there is a ton of processes that are not in Salesforce, that are in other applications that are still manual. And all of this grunt work that we talk about, how do we automate this with AI so that we can do some of the things that we were mentioning? So GPT-5, the company that I represent, is an app exchange product that allows you to do that. You can bring your own AI and you can actually utilize it with GPT-5 so that you can address all of these things. But let me show you. All right, so I'm going to go and start with an opportunity. And let's talk about, let me just make this full screen. Let's talk about this opportunity for a minute, right? So I'm on this opportunity, and what I want to do is I want to send this person a follow-up email, right? There is a bunch of information. What are they doing? Some next steps, stuff like this. And I have an opportunity owner. This is the rep that owns this account, right? And is following this opportunity. So this little widget that you see here is GPT-5, right? It's a native Lightning component. And when I click this button, what it'll do is it'll draft me an email. And this is just the start of what you can do with AI. I'm sure you've probably seen a demo like this, but trust me, it gets a lot better. I have a bunch of prompts here. This is the one that I'm going to take, and I'm going to hit this. And what happens right now is GPT-5 is extracting this data from Salesforce. It's going to mask it and apply a sensitive or security filter, send it to AI. In this case, it's going to Google Vertex. It gets an email composed, bring it back and show you here. Here are a few things about this email. Of course, it's got the detail from, whatever products are on this opportunity, some amounts and stuff. It also has the name of the rep. It has the rep's role, right, or title. It has their tagline and stuff like this. So all of this is dynamically added, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. But at this point, what you can do is, if you're the rep, you did this, you can actually click on this little icon and put it inside an email if you send emails from Salesforce, right? So this will just pop up the email box, and then we can do it there. Or alternatively, if you use Outlook or Gmail or some other mail client, you can click on this here, and now it's in your clipboard. So I can just go to my Gmail and send it out from there. I can go to my Outlook, send it from there. Whatever you use, you now have the ability to take this information and use it. But what really happened under the hood? So I'm going to give you a peek, and then we will go into Account 360 and some of the other ones that we were talking about. So I'm going to click on this guy here. And what you will see in a minute is what happened under the hood, right? So we call it security audit. So every call that is made to AI, we audit it. We have a log so that your privacy, security, compliance, legal, whoever wants to look at that can look at this information. And you can set a retention schedule so it can get wiped out in 30 days or whatever your requirements are. All right. So I have this security audit. This is what actually happened under the hood. When we click that button, we have this information, right? So as you can see, it happened against this record. It used Vertex AI, right? It used a prompt and a bunch of information that was shared here. So let me show you what was shared. What we did is we extracted this information out of Salesforce. So the opportunity, the associated contacts, products, like a bunch of information. And then GPT-5 masked out some private information based on what we had specified. We said that we think some of these are PII, they're sensitive data. We don't want to send it to AI. So GPT-5 replaced or masked them, right? So instead of Mark, we are sending person F5 and so on and so forth, right? So if you look here, here's Jennifer that we got from Salesforce. What we send to AI has person F2. And we support this for fields, for regular expressions, for block lists, and I'll show you some of that in a little bit. But there's a lot of that kind of security that you can enforce. So if you are a regulated sector, financial services, healthcare, health insurance, any of the other sectors where you're very security conscious, high tech, if you sell into the governments, into public sector, into military, this is one of the key objections that a lot of organizations are dealing with. Anyway, so we masked this information. We sent it to AI. Then AI came back and it gave us a response. And it said, hey, here is the email, right? We reformatted it. And this is what we had displayed. The other thing which I'll dive a little bit into is the prompt here, right? But what you see here is we are able to embed information. We can tell GPT-5 that, look, this email needs to be addressed by, for the opportunity owner. It needs to take their title, their about me information, and things like that. So there's a lot of capability that we have built to make sure that you can get exactly the kind of information that you need just to get to this email. So that's on the email, and we sent it, and that's all great. But my boss is like, hey, what's going on with this account? Tell me more about this account. I have a bunch of open opportunities. They're existing customer. I have some cases. What's going on? So I'm going to show you what is an Account 360 next. All right. So here I am. This is my Account 360 record. And again, you can look at it. It's the same idea, right? I have a bunch of opportunities on it. I have some cases. I have some emails that went. There's a bunch of information here, right? And now I can just go here and I can click one of these and get an Account 360. In this case, I'm going to use, say, OpenAI. right? Which is, again, in this case, OpenAI is running on Azure. You can have it OpenAI running on OpenAI infrastructure. You can have internally hosted, whatever you want to do. So our whole intention with this entire approach is to make sure that your AI, that your organization controls and picks, right? You pick where your AI wants, where you want it, which region, which data residency, which vendor. You make all of those calls, right? Your AI managed, secured, everything assured by your organization. So you're not dealing on some other vendor, and your Salesforce, which you already know, love, and trust, right? Between those two, we are like the Suez Canal or the Panama Canal that's connecting them, right? So these two oceans of incredible value can now be connected. So I'm going to run this thing, and this is running OpenAI 4, which has a larger token size, which means we can send it a lot more data, which also means it takes a little bit longer to process this. But while it's doing it, what we're expecting to see from this is a summarization of opportunities, a summarization of my cases. In addition, we also want AI to tell us if there are any objections on my deals, right? I want AI to tell me what does it think are the next best actions on this. And if you're an organization, and you can run this like for opportunity itself, if you have a ton of activities on an opportunity, you can do like an opportunity 360, for example. If you're an organization where you have, these opportunities and you have more than one for an account, it's a really great way to get a sense of that view, right? You want to have a deep understanding of each of these without sort of going through and noodling on what's going on here. Click on this, click on this, click on this, tell me, or spending some time with the sales rep and take them away from their selling and saying, hey, tell me what's happening to the now floats account. So it's that kind of grunt work that we are trying to eliminate. Similarly on the cases, and I apologize, this actually does take a bit longer. I should have picked Vertex to do that. But similarly on the cases, it's the exact same thing. It's going to come back and it's going to show you a little bit of information on the case. It'll show you the case summary, the case sentiment, and so on. And that is the value of using AI here. In the interest of time, I'm just gonna refresh this and just go back to a previous version of this, just so that I can show you. Oh, it actually just came back now. Okay. All right. So this is an example of what it will produce, right? So as you can see, I have a bunch of opportunities. I have a bunch of cases. There is a summary that I was talking about. If there was an objection, it would come. Again, we have sample data. What's the next best action? So these three columns here, summary, objection, next best action, they don't exist in your Salesforce, right? They are AI generated based on all the data that it crunched. Similarly, a summary, an intent, a sentiment doesn't exist in Salesforce. This is all coming from AI, right? This is what AI has been able to generate. And the idea again is that, if I go back to the audit record behind it, the idea again is that we send a lot of information to AI. See, all of this was encrypted, right? We picked up stuff, and then AI processes it. In this case, it sends me back an HTML, which is what painted that table that you were looking at. So let's talk a little bit about how we determined what information was sent to AI, and how did we tell AI, or GPT-5 in this case, to create a prompt for this. So I'm going to show you what is a prompt here, right? So prompt is just a plain English way of us telling AI what we are expecting from it. So what you see on my left here is the prompt, right? This is the prompt. It's created for this object, and we support type, of text prompts, and we also support JSON prompts, which I'll talk in a little bit. But this is my prompt, right? Again, written in very plain English. It does take a little bit of getting used to. It is a new skill for our entire species today. But the idea is that, we wrote this prompt and we just said, hey, help me understand what's happening on this account. Show me all the opportunities. These are the columns. Show me all the cases. These are the columns, right? And AI will crunch this data. And what you see on the right here is the data context mapping. And this is what is driving what information are we sending. All right. So in this case, we started with account. Then we have some related objects, case and opportunity. And then we have a third level under case, which is case comment. All of this is metadata driven, which means I can go here and say add related object, and I can add new objects under account. And these objects can be standard Salesforce objects, they can be custom objects, they can be managed and unmanaged package objects. As long as it can be read through metadata, GPT-5 will pick it up and you can use it, right? So for example, I could have just gone and said, hey, add activity history, it'll add it for me. I can also set a record limit. I can put a where clause if I only wanted activity history of certain status, of certain type, of certain age, just go back 6 months, right? So I can do stuff like that here. Anyway, that determines what records I'm going to send to AI. So I'm going to send account, case, comment, opportunity, and task. But what fields am I sending? So if I go here on my account and hit field mapping, it'll now show you what fields are you sending, right? So I'm sending account description, account name, things like that. And for some of these here, I can tell it to mask, right? In this case, I'm saying, hey, apply regex patterns for description, and it's going to look through description. If there is anything that looks like an email, anything that looks like, phone numbers, IP addresses, credit card numbers, social security number, date of birth, whatever it is, you have the ability to apply all of that. Similarly, on the name, I can just say, hey, just mask the entire value. I don't want to send account name, just instead send like person one or company one or whatever, right? You have the opportunity to do things like that. So that is how you are determining what goes in the prompt, what information, what data goes to AI. And all of this is what GPT-5 sends it out. Now, notice in this is completely declarative. I would not have to write a single line of code to do what I just showed you. So that's what's happening here on the account, right? So now let me jump into, let's say the deal closed, you're going through stuff. Now we talk about case, right? Now we kind of make this transition from sales to support. And we are going, all right, here's a case. The customer opened one. So we are going to see a few very interesting things here. One of the fundamental challenge with cases is case routing, particularly if you are a large or a mid-sized company, you have stuff coming in, you may want to know what product, and what function. Is it technical? Is it a billing issue? What's the challenge that the customer has? And if you are a large global multinational, you may have to support multiple languages. You may go, hey, based on the language, I may have to send it elsewhere. It's in Italian, I need to send it to my Italy case queue. It's in Hindi or in Tamil or whatever language, right? If you're in India, right? If it's in Arabic, right? If it's in whatever language, you want all of that information. So let's kind of try that with this, right? This is a simple case. It's just got really, a bunch of information here. I'm going to just hit on this run GPT-5. And what it's going to do is it's again going to pull, oops, sorry. I'm going to go here and run the intelligent routing. And what it's going to do with this is it's going to pull all the information out of the subject and very tiny description here and populate some of this information. So when I click it, it's going to look through this. It knows, oh, there's a product here. So it's populated the product information here. It kind of thought it was a technical support. So it put technical support. It's got English. It's figured out there's no negative sentiment here, things like that. But notice that we not only extracted information out of case, sent it to AI, and got back a response, which you see here, but we then also took this response and populated fields on this record. The minute we populate these fields, it's a record. You can apply all kind of automation. You can utilize it with routing rules. You can use it with flows. You can use it with escalation, whatever you would like to do. And it's the same for leads. If you were routing leads this way, you could route opportunities this way. You can route any custom object this way. So this intelligent routing is something you can apply anywhere by using AI. The key is that all of a sudden we have moved into the sort of unstructured world, right? This description could have been 350 characters long, bunch of lines or a lot of information. It could have been an email to case. All of that data AI can process for us very, very quickly and give us this. So that's one. Great. I know this person is asking a question about Data Masker, which is a product that we make, cloud compliance for sandbox data masking, and they want to know what's new. So at this point, if you are a rep, I want something to go against my knowledge base. So at cloudcompliance.app/docs, we have a knowledge base. Now, when I click on that button, what it's going to do is it's actually searching my knowledge base using AI, right? And it comes back with this information. And this is coming live from my knowledge base, right? So it's actually pulling from this knowledge base right here. And it really is technology agnostic. So it doesn't care if my knowledge base is a Salesforce knowledge base, if it's based on WordPress, if it's some homegrown thing, if it's a bunch of PDFs, it really doesn't care. You can have any kind of knowledge base and go against it utilizing, in this case, we are using Google Vertex with Dialogflow. So you have the opportunity to bring a lot of that information right inside. As a matter of fact, we support automation. I'll show you that in a minute. We support automation, which means once a case is created, you can automatically do these two things even before a person in your organization touches this case, right? We can run GPT-5, automatically populate all the routing, automatically populate a recommended resolution or 5 if you wanted, and then we can share it with whoever that group is. And when they look at it, so much of their time is saved, right? The third part of this is root cause analysis, which I accidentally clicked earlier. So it just automatically ran and populated it. But hopefully this gives you an idea of how significantly easily your organization can, accelerate sales and service. And I'm going to show you a little bit more of this. Let me give you a little bit more on some of these things. So I'm going to go open this thing called the catalog. And what a catalog is everything that you can do from an AI perspective, right? This is how we've thought about this. There is a bunch of things up here. So we have what we call a prompt catalog, where you can go and you can look at all the prompts that we have. This is a test environment, but it could be based on boost sales, improve customer service, things like that. You can look at what are the prompts that we have, how many are deployed, how much time and effort has been saved, things like that, right? So if I click on this, it's got a bunch of prompts. I'm going to take this one here and I can hit next, and I can actually look at the context mapping if I wanted, and I can deploy it. I can deploy a prompt based on profiles. So I can limit who sees this prompt on what object, right? And if you had different record types on that object, you can also associate it for specific record types. And just like that, you can deploy these prompts and start getting value. Speaking of value, how do you know if it is useful, right? One of the challenges, I've been in technology for very long, and one of the challenges, every vendor will tell you how awesome my product is and how much significant value and return on investment you're going to get. But how do you actually measure it? Let me show you. So if I go back to the account 360 that we ran, you can see here, right? It says time saved is 336 seconds, right? This is about 5.5 minutes. How did it figure that out? Basically, we are looking at all the information that somebody will have to read through. And I think we say that maybe at 50 words per minute or something, right? If you were reading all of this at that speed, the amount of time it takes versus the amount of time AI took, that's the difference. Because we are tracking this, we can actually show you an ROI, right? So if I go back to my cockpit here, I have an ROI dashboard. You can see the ROI. Again, this is a demo environment, so I may not have a lot of data, but you're starting to see how much time you're saving by objects, by user, who are your power users, by prompts, which are my most effective prompts, by profiles, by role, by department. So a lot of richness in terms of how you can show to your management, and you can see for yourself if AI is really living up to that promise or not, right? Similarly, you can look at user adoption. We have an insights dashboard where it starts to, kind of dig deeper into it from a usage point of view. How many times something has been used here, who's using it the most. Again, like a lot of granularity in it. The point is, not only do we want to make it easy, right? Not only do you want to make it easy for your people to create prompts to benefit from AI, but you also want a very clear idea of how much value are we getting out of this investment? Are there deficiencies? How do we improve adoption? Given how nascent AI is and how quickly it's evolving, it's really important that we are able to look into that as we go along and kind of adjust our steering and make sure we're headed in the right direction. So that's on those fronts. One of the things I really quickly wanted to show is we talked about masking, and we support a lot of capability there. So you can have in our security layer a lot of regex. So if you need, the Australian tax file number, or the Canadian or the Indian Aadhaar card number or the passport number or phone formats or some other kind of, and you can create your own. So you're not limited by what we have here in the tax ID or whatever else. You have the ability to do whatever you need to do from a regular expression. Another area is a block list. You may have sensitive product. Maybe you sell stuff that you don't want to send to AI. Maybe you are a military supplier, right? So you have the ability to literally make sure that anything that goes to AI never ever has a particular term, right? Maybe a product name, maybe a customer name, maybe you sell to organizations that you don't want their names to go to AI. So you have the ability to create these block lists and apply them. You can have it for product, for machine codes, for vulnerabilities, whatever it is that you're looking at. So these are some of the things that we are doing here. You have the ability to really easily configure these. There's a bunch of AI models that we have configured this for, right? We're going against Vertex, we're going against GPT-5, which is our OpenAI model, and you can add as many as you like. And you can use multiple AIs depending on what you're doing. So that's a little bit on some of these things. I want to show you another very interesting prompt. So one of the things that a lot of organizations have to do is they get files from their customers. Maybe a customer sends you a log file. That's an example, right? Or maybe the customer says, you know what, your code is not that great. I have a code from your competitor, and that is at a less price, or that's more value to me. I'll even share it with you, right? You have that. Or maybe it's a really complex proposal and you want to compare two such documents. GPT-5 lets you do that. So what I'm going to show you is how can you compare or analyze documents, right? So in this particular case, I'm on a case, right? And on this case, I have an attachment. It's a summary of benefits and coverage, right? It's just a PDF from some health coverage company. I just downloaded it from online, right? And it's got a bunch of information, about co-pays and things like that, right? So think your healthcare or financial services or a bank or whatever, and customers are going, well, I don't understand this, or here is what I'm getting from someone else. And you just have to say, hey, let me look at that. Let me compare. So what I can do is, in this scenario, I'm going to use a prompt that lets me attach a file and ask a question against that PDF. So let me actually do this here. I selected this prompt here, right? I have a question that I just wrote, and I can, by the way, write questions against pretty much any of these objects, any of these records, very much like how you would do it on ChatGPT, right? So this is my question. I'm going to click on this icon. This is the attached file with this case. If I had multiple, I could have done that. And now I can run this. And what it now does is GPT-5 is going to send it to AI. It's going to process the file in the context of the question that was asked, and it'll come back with a response. Because it's a file, it takes a few seconds more. And now you see the response that's come out of it, right? And it tells you the out-of-pocket limit for a healthcare plan is this. So what you're seeing here is the ability to go just beyond your own knowledge bases or your own PDF to even customer supplied documents, if you have those use cases. If you are in real estate and in construction, maybe somebody sends you home loan documents that someone has to look at. If you're high tech and your customer goes, here's a log file. I don't want to read a log file, but now my support guy can use this and they can ask questions against it. They can specifically diagnose things based on a lot of unstructured data. So that's a little bit about what you can do in real world with some of these things. I'm going to take a breather here, look at, if there are any questions on this, and see if I can answer some of them. So bear with me a minute. I'm going to grab some water. All right. I am looking at this. Any questions? If there are questions, please go ahead and ask. I'm looking at this and I'm not seeing any so far. But thank you for letting me know that you can hear us. Apologies for that snafu. Okay, go ahead and ask us if you have any questions. I'm going to go on a little bit more on this. So basically, everything that we have designed here, the idea is that you can really quickly apply it. But in a number of cases, a product may not be able to do what you want it to do. So every prompt that you create is actually accessible from a flow. We have implemented what is known as an invocable interface. And GPT-5 also comes with a flow template. So if you don't like what we have created, you can create your own, right? You can create this, you can just do a flow. Here is an example of a flow, that we've created. You can take a look at it, right? And there's a bunch of things for you. So that's something I just thought I will show you. Another thing is, maybe you want to run this automatically, right? So we have this whole thing called mass processing, and essentially you can schedule prompts. So you can also, run it every 30 minutes. Let's say you have cases coming in, you have leads coming in, and you just have GPT-5 automatically run every so often and process them. Do what we were doing on the case and automatically populate out fields, let it get routed. You can do the same thing on leads, populate fields, let it get routed based on country, region, language, based on whatever that lead typed in a web to lead form and said, hey, I'm looking for more information on blah, blah, and blah. And you're like, okay, we know how to route it. So a lot of that automation is built in. The entire idea is, how do we kill grunt work, right? How do we get our people out of all of this grunt work, whether it is your end users, whether it is your IT, whether it is your executive sponsors who are looking at what's the ROI on this thing, right? So that's the intention. The other thing that we have found a lot of interest in, and we are working with some customers, is how do you enrich this information, right? So you can actually apply a Dun& Bradstreet, a Bloomberg, or any sort of a data source that is for data enrichment. You can apply an API data source. So an example could be, I have a lead that got created, and let's say it's an account, right? I have an account created. We are B2B, and somebody reached out and said, hey, we run, we have a vehicle fleet, your auto insurance. I'm looking for some commercial auto insurance, right? We'd like to get some quotes on 50 cars that we have, right? And you now have the ability to apply, some third-party data enrichment to get more information about that company and populate all of that, send it to AI, get a more well-formed response. So there's a lot of that kind of capability that we are adding because we have customers who are really keen in pushing the envelope on AI. One of the other things, and this is probably the last one that I really wanted to talk about before I show you some resources. One of the other things that is really important for a lot of customers is data retention, right? There are legal reasons for that. And a lot of customers want to either not keep it because, every audit record that we create is taking up storage. So you can set it really low, 20 days, 7 days, whatever, and GPT-5 will automatically delete these so you don't have to do it manually. On the other hand, maybe you have retention regulations and you need to keep it for a while. Your AI ethics people, compliance, legal, security, somebody wants to monitor it and you want to keep it for 60 days. You can just come here and adjust it to 60. And that's really it. So that's fundamentally what a lot of this is about. I'm going to see if there are any questions. I do want to go through a few more slides. All right. Irfan asked, need to know if they provide the notification automatically since opportunity is not active and send an email to owner. So Irfan, I think that's a flow case. I don't know if, okay, then there's a question from Prabhanjan on AI plus flow. AI generates flow for particular objectives. Great question, Prabhanjan. So you can utilize a flow and go against a particular prompt, right? So I can say, I can create a flow and actually refer a prompt in it and say, hey, when something happens to an opportunity, when a case gets escalated, just an example, run this prompt, run a sentiment analysis on it. Anytime a case is updated, run a summarization. Anytime an opportunity is updated, a new activity is added, or any activity is added, run AI on it and see, because some organizations, they put a lot of notes in activities, they put a whole meeting note, summarize it, update the account, right? So you can do a lot of those things by using flows with any prompt that you pick up. The other part of this is because it's a prompt combined with a flow, it can serve as a REST endpoint. So you can use it as an API for third-party systems that need to integrate with Salesforce and pull data. All right. For every specific, Ravi asked, for every specific case, GPT-5 integrates with a different AI tool and the response is showcased. Is this correct understanding? Well, yes and no. You could choose to have just one AI, which is what most customers do. Our idea of showing it was, look how flexible this is, right? So if you've standardized on, Google Cloud, AWS, Microsoft Azure, OpenAI on Azure, or OpenAI running on OpenAI infrastructure, you can pick that one. One of the reason multiple AI, data sources are important is because for a lot of global companies, data residency is a requirement. Particularly this is for APAC. Australia has data residency requirements. Now India has with PDPB. I think there are some data residency requirements there. So if you're a global company, and let's say I am the Australian sales rep, and if I query something using AI, it needs to go to the Australian instance of OpenAI on Azure, right? So you can do that. You can actually essentially configure this so that people from Australia, their data is only going to AI that is actually in Australia, and so that we are compliant from a data residency perspective. And people from India or Asia Pacific or other places, they may be going against a different AI hosted in some other data center of your provider. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so this is not legal advice, but that's the intention. We have built it because we have customers who are who have fairly sophisticated demands in terms of what they're looking for. Let me take a look if there are other questions. Oops, I am not seeing it. All right. So that's that. I wanted to go back really quickly and point you to some resources. And I also have a few slides on architecture and security if anybody's interested. So resources. This video is getting recorded, so it will be available on LinkedIn, and you can also join this group. This is a LinkedIn group, and I think one of my colleagues will probably add a link here, so you can take a look at that. So basically, in this group, we share the recordings, a lot of white papers, a lot of information, and anybody can join. Feel free to join it. It's a great way to, kind of keep abreast of what's new and happening in this AI space, right? Similarly, the whole, customer life cycle that we talked about, if you want that, that PDF, if you want to use it internally, if you want to look at the use cases, you can get it there. You can also go to our website, which has a lot of resources. I'll share that in a minute. You can download, use cases for Sales Cloud if that's what you're looking for. You can download use cases for Service Cloud, a bunch that we showed, and each of those PDFs have like a 2-3 minute video that specifically shows that specific capability. You can again download use cases for Financial Services Cloud. We have put some together, same place. Similarly, you can get our data sheet and things like that. I wanted to really quickly also highlight the GPT-5 website. You can go there, and there is a ton of demos. There is a lot of different things that you can get here. Lots of resources, lots of guides. Again, it's a great idea to basically just, join us on LinkedIn in our group. One of my colleagues would probably share the link. And again, you can also go to our website, take a look at there. You can click on this talk to us and book a demo with us if you're interested, want to have some version of this session again. All right. What other questions do I have? Kevin asked, are you able to specify fields to look for in the attachment? So Kevin, basically it's going against the, let me go back. Let's go find that document. Is this one? Yes, it is this one, right? Nope. Okay, let me find that case. This guy. All right, we'll take this one. Doesn't matter, I think, process file. Okay. So I have, this is for some financial services, right? I just downloaded Chase Bank's consumer deposit, right? So I'm not going against, because it's a document, there is not a particular field, but I can ask it a question very conversationally, right? I could have asked it, what are the interest rates, right? Something like that. What are standard rates? So it's just basically AI, like how we would apply it, like we have ChatGPT or something. We're basically doing the same thing. I'm going to just associate that document. I think I have 2 of these. I'm just going to ask for consumer deposit. And basically, I'm running this. All right. So while this is coming back, I'm going to look for, yes, we'll share. So Gayatri asked about the PDF or PPT. Yeah, Gayatri, definitely join the LinkedIn group. I think my colleague shared that LinkedIn group link. I'm going to show you that really quickly. Let me go back here and find that group, this guy, right? So please go ahead and join this. And we would like all these use cases, everything that we talked about, it's all here, right? It's a great way to just one place to get everything from. All right, so let me go back here. Are there other questions that I should answer? Rahul answered some. All right. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions. Okay, so basically that's it. I'm going to show you one more slide, which is more on the security and integration, because that is a topic that usually comes up. How does this all work together, right? So basically this is what this is, right? You have Salesforce. Inside your Salesforce, GPT-5 is running. GPT-5 is an App Exchange security approved product. So basically, everything is native Salesforce. It's just Apex, Lightning components, lots of Apex, and a lot of thought, right? That's what's gone in. But the point is, it's running inside your Salesforce. Nobody from GPT-5 has access to it at all at any point of time, right? So it's very secure from that perspective. Whatever level of security you enforce at Salesforce, essentially that applies here. And the only thing it can make a call out to is what you authorize to make a call out to. So let's say if you were using one of these AIs, or you may have an internally hosted, we frankly don't care. To us, it's a REST endpoint, and it's using, it's using AI credentials from inside Salesforce. So you have named or external credentials, and that's what this is using. So essentially what happens for most customers is they own this AI. So their CISO, your security, your InfoSec team, that basically drives the security on this side from an AI standpoint. On the Salesforce side, your Salesforce security, your admins, they drive the security. And in this architecture, we basically are really not doing anything extra, right? Like it's just a very, very simple architecture that essentially ensures that nothing external is touching your data, right? It's only the AI you authorize with an App Exchange approved app. So that's on the security front of this. One of the things that you can do is you can go to App Exchange and you can pick GPT-5 and you can learn more about it, right? This is GPT-5. You can definitely take a look at this, some information on what the product does and all of that. And obviously, a lot of that is also available here. If you are specifically looking for Sales Cloud or Service Cloud, you can go take a look at what specific things are we doing here. And as I mentioned, there is like a data sheet that you can download. You can look at some of the use cases for it. And there's a lot of demo videos and stuff like that, right? The dashboards, sentiment journey, a lot of those kind of things. So that's really in a nutshell what GPT-5 is doing. I'm kind of looking if there are any other questions. If anybody from my team can maybe point out, let me just go down further in comments. So it's not showing me the comments here. Let me go to my LinkedIn and see if I can see if there are any comments there. All right, I'm now turn this thing off. Where do I see the event? Let me go see it here. Let's go pull this event. Let's see if there are any questions here. 39 comments. Okay, comments are here. All right, I think I answered most of the questions. If there are others, please let us know, and I'm happy to answer them. If anyone from my team wants to make a comment in this chat here on LinkedIn, if there's something else that I should be looking at or addressing, that I can do. So one of the things, while people are thinking about it, one of the things that I think is useful to understand is prompt engineering, because that does keep on coming up. Let me see if I have a slide on that. I don't think I have it on this deck. But prompt engineering is something that is definitely an important aspect of what we are doing here. And as you are looking at AI, it's really important to understand how prompt engineering works. So I'm going to show you this really quickly here. I'm going to go here, and I will show you how some of these prompts are created, right? So I go to this AI prompt, and this is a simple one, right? It's just a plain English prompt that you're looking at. But let me show you another interesting one. So let me go to actually one of our cases. Let me find that other case we were looking at. Let's pick this one up, right? So let's look at the prompt for this. This is a complex prompt. So what you will see here that we did here is, if I go to this prompt, what you will see is that in this prompt, there is a bunch of things that are happening, right? There is this context mapping that you're looking at here. And if I go hit edit on this, you will see that, there is some more information here, right? On this prompt, I have, this is a prompt, it's of type text. I've written some very simple things. I can add merge fields, which we were looking at, and then I can set a bunch of things, right? I can set the output token, the temperature, things like that. And this is what controls, what we are sending to AI. I can also, set here which catalog it needs to appear under, what are the profiles it needs to be associated with, things like that. So that's for this prompt. Let me show you a few more interesting prompts. So I'm going to pick a prompt here, which is a JSON prompt. And these are really interesting prompts. These are prompts where you actually can populate field values, right? So in this case, you see in this prompt, there is a prompt component. And what you see is that we are saying, hey, do a summarization, right? So this is out of the box. These are other things that we support. If you wanted to update a field or something, you can come and say, hey, update a field with a draft email, update a field with next best action, and so on and so forth, as you can see here, right? So I have the ability to do that. I can also specify other things. How big of a summary do I want? What language do I want it in? Maybe I don't want it in English. Maybe I want it in a different language. Is there a tone for this summary, particularly useful for emails, right? Do I want an empathetic email, right? What's the format for this summary? Do I want a bullet point or a short paragraph, right? And if there are other constraints I want to apply, any additional instructions I want to do. So what you're seeing is there is a lot of richness in what you can achieve with some of these capabilities. And you're doing this all completely declaratively. That's what makes it so powerful. Like, we can literally get you up and running in an hour. If you wanted to just do like a proof of concept with us, you can reach out to us, schedule a meeting with us. We can have you up and running in an hour to just try it out in your sandbox environment. And, you can actually go live with something like this in 2-3 weeks, really, because all we have to do is just, write some prompts specific to, your use cases, and boom, you're up and running. So that's really what's driving so much of this. I'm curious to see if there are other questions I can answer. I'm not seeing any. All right. So with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up if there are not any other questions. Can someone from my team just comment here? Because I know it's a one-way thing, so I can't probably really talk. So if you can comment on anything that's left that we should cover. All right, so I'm not seeing that. Well, so I'll just call it a wrap. Let me see if I left out any slides. I don't think. Let me go to resources. So yeah, I mean, if you feel like, please let us know. If we can do a demo for you or a POC, reach out to us, connect with us, and we can go from there. I'm going to stop sharing my screen with that. Really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much, everyone.